Welcome to a new episode of Made in China. And today it's a very exciting day because we're going to talk about the Chinese consumer market with an expert, Patrick Stijlen. We're both Dutch, but we're talking in English today. So, welcome, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
We had some technical issues before, but it's all settled
It's
now.
live.
Yeah, that's live. So, you help Western brands grow and enter the Chinese market. Very excited to talk about this, but let's maybe start with your whole China experience. You've been living there for quite a while, but maybe you can give us a little bit of background information and how your China journey started.
Yeah, 100%. I've been living in China close to 10 years now. Started actually very early on that I was interested in China. As part of high school, I was orientating for what I wanted to do in terms of my bachelor. Went to Asian Trade Management School in Rotterdam and figured out Chinese is never going to work for me. I don't want to learn the language at all. So studied something completely different, went into marketing, and as part of my bachelor program, ended up in Shanghai as an internship program and completely fell in love with the city. Basically, living half a year in Shanghai split my brain right open and reconstructed it. And I realized the amount of opportunity there is being found in China, but also just how much I like the country and the people. So at that point of time, I decided anything I can do with China, I will do. So I did internship, I did exchange programs, I studied Mandarin for a year. And then eventually in 2019, I ended up working in the supply chain of suit supply, managing product development and quality control, which was a great experience because I always wanted to go into fashion, but never really did anything in it. But because I already spoke a bit of Mandarin, I was given the opportunity to work there and really develop myself in terms of the fashion business. So learned very well how to make good clothes, and obviously a suit, as you know, is very complex to construct, and basically was thrown right into the deep end a bit because in the city where I worked, which is 3.5 hours from Shanghai, basically no one speaks English. So I really had to ramp up my Chinese studying while working with Chinese factory teams, speaking only Mandarin, learning the craft of making a proper suit, and just studying hours a day. I learned pretty well Mandarin and also learned how to make a very good fashion product, as you are way more experienced in than I am.
Nice, nice. And we can then also debunk the first myth that that there are no quality goods in China because Suit Supply is producing, I think, most of their
Exactly.
goods in China.
I know you speak to these companies that are doing manufacturing in China and they try to reshore it, right? During COVID, everyone tried to reshore their manufacturing and they start doing some stuff in Italy and in Spain and in Portugal, and it turns out always terrible. Especially when you want a single product for a long time at the same quality standard. China is the only place where you can go nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. That's interesting because we also see a shift now from a lot of fashion brands who are shifting away from Italy and now entering China. So it's a interesting, interesting move. And what's also interesting is that before, and you can tell us more about it, we only produced in China, but nowadays we also export a lot of goods to China. Maybe you can. I think it's we spoke a couple of weeks ago. Very interesting because I think a lot of Western brands want to enter the Chinese market. It's a huge market, but maybe you can tell us in a nutshell how the Chinese consumer market is working. What are the differences between the Western markets and the scale of it because it's huge.
Yeah, so as you said, right, so the Chinese market has undergone a lot of development. So it used to be we manufacture in China, ship globally, and we don't look at China. And now it's for most brands, it might be a reverse, right? So for big brands such as like Lululemon, but also Brunello Cucinelli, if you read their annual reports or you hear what those CEOs speak about, China is one of the drivers of growth. So in terms of the Chinese market, it's very different than the European market. I'm familiar with both because I also work a bit with Chinese brands going global. So I'm very aware of the exact differences. where you build a brand in Europe, you go through distributors and you go through your own website and you build it through Instagram. None of that really applies to China. So when it comes to China, there are basically no multi-brand stores. So every offline store is basically mono brand. So how that works, right, is like Lululemon has only Lululemon branded stores. Nike only has Nike stores and is not sold in like other shoe stores. So that comes with a huge cost. So how most Chinese brands start is D2C online first. In Europe or in the rest of the world, basically, everything is sold through websites. And now Instagram shops, TikTok shops, that's starting, but in China that's very well evolved already. The far majority of sales, especially when it comes to fashion, happens on one single platform, which is called Tmall. It's owned by Alibaba. Brand building happens on another platform which is called Red Note. So that's like a Chinese version of Instagram. Also works a little bit better than Instagram because these platforms have evolved so much. Tmall is, you can see it a little bit as a version of Amazon. So you go into the store, you go into Tmall, you search for a jacket, you want a suit jacket or you want a raincoat, you search on the platform and you see all of the brands that have offerings there. But therefore it's really, really competitive and expensive. So whereas everything happens on websites in Europe, everything happens on platforms in China. So you build it online D2C, but then when you go offline, it's very tough for brands to go into get offline distribution because they have to do it through mono branded stores. So how that works usually is a Chinese brand starts online, then gets a certain scale, invest the little money they have into opening a store, maybe in one of the big cities or a second tier city as they are called. And once they have proof of concept, other franchisee partners across the region will take on the store concept and start opening stores for you.
Yeah, that's the complete opposite of
Yeah.
of the West. For example, if you want to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, you don't buy it through the web shop of Louis Vuitton. You go to this Amazon page, and all the from niche brands to high-end brands are on the same platform.
Yeah, exactly. So for Louis Vuitton, it's a little bit more unique because people really search out the product. Still, they do not go to the website. So they either buy it in the store because Louis Vuitton has a ton of stores across China, or they buy it through Tmall, the platform I just mentioned, or they buy it through the WeChat official store, which
Mhm.
is sort of a version of a website. So you don't pay as much margin to the platform as you would do in Tmall.
Okay, yeah. So it's completely different how the Western consumers are buying stuff compared to the Chinese people. And what do you think are the main differences in maybe in buying in general, but also in online shopping? Because I think you in China, you're like you can buy like from toothpaste to groceries day and night. It never stops because here
Exactly. Yeah.
and within a couple of hours, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, I have difficulty readjusting when I'm visiting my parents in Europe because I never go to a supermarket, and that's not because I'm spoiled or super wealthy, but that's just no one in China in the middle class goes to supermarkets. Everyone buys it online. Um, that also applies to everything. So the Chinese consumer is very sort of spoiled in that way, right? Because when it comes to Tmall, which is one of the most difficult things for brands to run on there, is that you basically always need to offer 7 days, no questions asked returns. So people use your product, they test it out, they buy 5 jackets, right? They try out every single jacket, and then they want to return 6 of them, and they keep one. But then it's also not that difficult to return, right? Because in Holland, we have to go to the maybe to the supermarket and bring the box back and send it there. You have to wait, you have to queue. In China, you say, I want to return. Within 30 minutes, there's a guy in front of your door picking it up.
yes,
So it works like it's super nice for the consumer, but they have way more power than a brand. I mean, the brands I work with and some of the Chinese brands I work with, they really have headaches sometimes because they might get products returned that have like smudges on them and they're dirty, but still you have to accept it. Tmall will force you to accept it.
yeah. Well, so they have a lot of power and buying power. This platform, it's huge. Is it? owned by the government in China, or is it a public?
No,
How
it's
does?
owned by Alibaba.
Ah, sorry, it's owned by Alibaba.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Yeah,
And this, sorry, this online power also translates into offline, right? Because I just mentioned earlier that there's not really multi-brand retail. Why is that? Because if you have a multi-brand retail store, right, you stock all of these cool products that you curated yourself. What's gonna happen is a guy is gonna walk into the store, ask your customer stuff, hey, can I fit this? Can I fit that? Can I put these shoes on? And I will say, buy, I'm gonna buy it online, right? Because online they have way more protection.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And maybe you can also like the payment methods in China, because we were very proud in Europe when we could pay with our phone, but you guys can pay with your without anything, with the palm of your hand. I saw face scans now. It's like,
Yeah, so I don't really use that. I use just QR codes because it's way more convenient. I tried to do the face scan, but it didn't allow me to register because I don't have a Chinese ID card, which was a bit strange. Um, yeah, there are two payment providers. One is owned by Alibaba again. It's called Alipay, and the other one is owned by Tencent, which is called WeChat Pay. So WeChat, by the way, is sort of a WhatsApp version or in China, but then also has a ton of like what they call mini programs. So it's just like an app within an app. So if you want to order groceries from a place you don't really order that much, they will also have a mini program within WeChat. So you don't need to download the app in order to order something. It just removes all the barriers, right?
yeah,
And then when it comes to payment methods, the most standard one is a QR code. So right, you open your phone, it shows you a big QR code, or on your Apple Watch you might have a QR code. But supermarkets, and also lately I've seen this a lot, they they over the past few years they've put fridges all across like hotspots, but also in the gym I go to. And basically what you do, you scan your face, it links to your Alipay, you open the door of the fridge, you pick whatever you want,
yeah, yeah,
and AI will just see what you took and then just charge your account.
yeah. It's insane. It's also very, how do you say this correctly, like sensitive for theft, right? Because you could basically, but it's not happening in China, right? People don't. In
Yeah, I
general,
mean, you know those videos, right? About like, oh, you leave your Rolex in the middle of Dubai and never,
yeah,
like, it stays there for hours. China's
yeah,
the same, right? Because like they can track you from like door to door. So theft is not really an issue. I mean, to give you an example, I might be at a coffee store on the terrace with my laptop. I need to go to the toilet. I just leave my laptop there.
you don't even think about it, right?
Never. I mean, you drive your car, you have your laptop bag on the passenger seat, you close the car, walk away.
Yeah, yeah. Huge
Yeah.
differences between Europe and China. Make Western brands like global, not global, but like popular Western brands in Europe or America. What's your strategy behind how you are able to make them grow in China? Because, like you said before, you need a totally different approach.
Yeah, so it always takes a little bit of time also talking to these Western brands, right? It usually also takes a visit, one or two, for them to China to realize how different it is. You can say it, but then never really understand until they've been there. I usually just apply the exact same strategy as a starting Chinese brand would do. So I would launch their official account first on Red Note, which is again the Chinese version of Instagram, right? I start reposting the content that they have on Instagram on there because it's pretty much transferable early stage. Build some body to the account and then start with seeding some of their products to like influencers and people like that. Then once we see a little bit of traction on that, this is all super short time. We open a social commerce store within the Red Note platform. Basically, long story short, it's a little e-commerce store within the app itself. Their Red Note will never drive big volume, but it's a good way to get started and get your warehouse set up. We start gaining some traction there, gaining some sales there, and only then we go to the big platform Tmall and open a store there because the competition is so severe on that platform that you want to have a strong business case before you enter.
Yeah, yeah. So it's step by step. And you said on Red Note, the volumes are relatively lower, but still the market is. I mean, compared to Europe, there are way more people in China. So what quantities are you talking about? And because I can imagine you can also sell on there, right?
And that's growing way more, right? Because there used to be a rule that if you're on Tmall, you cannot be on any other platform,
Okay.
which the government got into it, being like, yeah, this is unfair. It's like a monopoly, right? So when that new law came in, or when that new regulation came in, we saw a little bit of a spread of platforms, right? So a big part of business now is also happening on WeChat, but that's only if your customer already knows the brand. And then for Red Note, I say Red Note is very important because the Western brands I work with are already a little bit high priced, right? If you're like a super cheap, like Temu kind of style brand, Red Note is not the place to go, but a Western brand doesn't make sense anyway to enter
No.
China if you're that cheap because you can never compete with domestic players. So for Red Note, it's mainly first and second tier cities, so the bigger cities in China, a little bit more skewed to women, although it's more skewing like to a fairer share between men and women. And then it's usually people with high purchasing power. So if you look at apparel market in China, I think you should view around like very close to like 400 billion USD for the apparel market in China. And then I don't have the exact numbers of how the split is per platform, but a big share of anything that's like middle or upper market price will happen on Tmall, or a little bit of that will happen on Rednote.
Yeah. Yeah. And what do you think is the biggest difference in consumer patterns between Western create like a buzz around a brand compared? Is it the same in China with influencers or creating a hype that the right people wear it, or does it work slightly different in China?
I think it's relatively similar, although it's cheaper, right? So to grow a community or grow through influencers is a little bit easier because with product seeding, some of my clients they do 300 product seedings of a €100 product a month, which is like unheard of in Europe for many brands that are around 5 to 7 million revenue a year, right? So that still works very well, product seeding itself. But one key difference in how you can scale in China is that live streaming is very big.
Oh,
So
yeah.
live stream shopping. So if you look at live stream shopping, and when I speak to brands, they're like, oh, then we have to hire a guy, right, that does the live stream. But there are two versions of live stream shopping. It's like one is like mono brand, right? So you have a live streamer that streams only for your brand, which is not as expensive as you think. And you don't need to fill 2 hours because the attention span is so short. Most live streamers stream the same content every 10 minutes. They just keep repeating themselves. But what is the easiest way to get your brand into the market once you have built a little bit of brand awareness through product seeding is to get it onto other live streamers' streams. So there are live streamers that are multi-brand live streamers. So they stream they're like fashion influencers that have live streams. They just stream a bunch of different things. You have people in wine that do this too, wine influencers, and all of these different wine houses come onto their stream. So that's the way to scale without too much cost because the live streamer just takes a split. You don't need to pay him.
Yeah. So they get a kickback fee.
Exactly, yeah, they get a percentage.
So basically, the live streamers are the new multi-brand stores because they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
show
good point.
things
Yeah.
from different brands, right?
Yes, they're like you imagine like your favorite kind of like a fashion influencer on Instagram, right? That guy in China has like live streams all
Yeah.
the time. And
Yeah.
then people watch him because they think he's cool and he might be talking about perfume, he might be talking about knitwear, shoes,
Yeah.
anything that revolves around like his like if it's like a suit influencers, he can be selling cigars, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I saw like a live stream from the most popular female live stream, and she's showing everything like 1 or 2 seconds. Like
Yeah, I like that one.
it's and she and the
That's
amount
not
of
standard, by the way.
no, but the amount of purchased articles were like insane. Like so you can basically see something and then just click on the screen or on the link and then directly buy it.
Yeah, so live streaming happens on every single platform where you can buy stuff, right? So it's Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, which is a little bit better for lower priced products. Then you have Red Note, obviously, and the live stream, the SKU that's being sold in the live stream will be directly linked to the SKU in your personal brand store on that platform. The same for Tmall.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's talking about it, and someone behind the camera is managing the stream will just select that SKU when she's talking about it. So you just press buy. And there will be a discount because you buy through the live stream.
Yeah, insane. Totally
Yeah.
different also than in here. So you are fluent in Mandarin, right? You speak nowadays
I wouldn't
because
say fluent, but I speak pretty good Mandarin. I've come to realize the better my Mandarin gets, the less fluent I consider myself. So I do business meetings and that kind of stuff in Mandarin, but I also understand that if I need to read like a government text, which tend to be very complex in China, I will struggle a lot.
yeah, but you can write, read.
Yeah, I type. So I type it. So because writing is like it's like typing you do through a romanization, right? You do it through the alphabet, which is similar to how it sounds. So it's quite easy to type if you know what it sounds like.
Yeah,
While writing, you have to know how it sounds and know how it looks by from your head. It's like a little bit different. It's like with Arabic as well, I guess. But typing and then recognizing the character actually is considered reading because you type it in an alphabetic way, and then you see the character that you're typing in the way it sounds. It's called pinyin, and you will know, that's the one.
but is that the way that it how normal Chinese people? Because I also see them sometimes on the screen like really
Yeah,
like
yeah.
rock.
Tend to be older people that do that, to be honest.
Ah, okay. Yeah,
But young, because you in the weird thing with Chinese is, right, you need to actually learn three things. So when you learn English, as Dutch people, we learn English and Dutch. But in Chinese, you need to learn the character. You learn Pinyin, which is the Romanization, right, the alphabetic version of the character, and you need to know the English or the Dutch translation of that. So the older people, they only know how to write. They never learned what is called the pinyin system of the alphabetic way of typing it. So they only know how to write radicals, parts of the character on the phone. But most people nowadays they just type on the keyboard, and everyone has this integrated. You type it in, you type NYHAO, and you get ni hao.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, amazing. And when I come to China, we should definitely meet up because it was quite strange because I think we both know a lot of Dutch people that live in China and the opposite, but we never actually met.
Yeah,
So it would
100%.
be
You're more than welcome.
great to discover Shanghai with you. And then my last question also, when you go, like we have in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, the Kalverstraat, you know, it's like the main street
Mhm.
where the big shops are. What are now the most, if you probably have that in Shanghai as well, what are now the famous brands in China? I'm just interested, like comparing it to, yeah, our Kalverstraat.
Yeah, so you don't have streets. You do have shopping streets, of course, but it's not as much. I think it's also quite a European thing, to have shopping streets. If you go to the US or anywhere else in Asia, it's all shopping malls. So shopping
Yeah,
malls are big.
yeah,
And then first ground of shopping mall are usually all luxury foreign brands. So LVMH is there, Prada, you name it, right? Moncler is on the ground floor. Then the more you go up, the more like less famous Western brands and Chinese brands are there. So the big famous brands still are Western, but they Chinese consumers tend to buy way more domestic brands nowadays than they used to, just because the domestic product is so good that they don't think the trade-off of the high European price is worth it anymore. While, for example, for Louis Vuitton, majority of the process of the bags is already happening in China, right? So they're like, why do I even? So to that point, actually, a very, very rapidly up and coming brand right now, and actually LVMH CEO was in their store to check it out several weeks ago. It's called Songmont. So Song like Song, and then Mont Mont, which is a Chinese sort of upper market slash premium brand, bag brand for women.
back.
So those brands, yeah, so those brands are rapidly growing. And then let's not forget, right, that brands that are doing very well in China currently that we think are Western, such as like Arc'teryx, right, or Salomon, are Chinese
Yeah,
owned now.
yeah. Yeah, that's also interesting because you also help Chinese owners or brands buy Western brands, right? or
Yeah,
help.
so the Chinese are super good at making an incredible product, right? But they're not that good at building a good brand. So some of these guys are breaking out already. And I have some clients of mine that are like on top of the game within their segment. So for example, outdoor clothes, doing very well in Europe right now. But not everyone is like that. And this is founded by guys with an international background. But when you go local, they make an incredible product, but there's no coherent brand story. One very big Chinese down jacket brand is called Bosdang. They have a massive store in London, 4 floors. It's always empty. Every time I'm there, it's empty. Because Bosdang knows how to make a good product, adhere to like Chinese local needs, but cannot make it international. So a lot of these bigger companies that already operate in China are currently looking to acquire either buy Western IP outright or
Yeah,
become licensee partner. So you, let's say, like, you have a Western brand that's doing well. Esprit is a recent example, or Woolrich is a recent example, right? Those IPs get acquired by a Chinese brand. They will operate those brands and combine it with their crazy good manufacturing, and then build it out in their market, but also build it out in other global markets.
yeah, interesting. So basically, they're combining strengths with our European creativity in their development and logistical power. It's all combined.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm
interesting.
actually curious, right? Because you work with a lot of Western brands, but you were saying it also that now for these Western brands, you're actually delivering their product into China locally. How
Yeah,
does that
so,
work?
yeah, so we see a shift like from actually made in China. Now we're also delivering in China because,
Hmm.
the consumer market in China is getting larger and larger, and there's more income, so more. So we have like clients who want to deliver in their warehouses, and they do the distribution to the shops in China.
Hmm.
But also a lot of e-com brands now want their goods delivered in China, and from China, it's being delivered D2C, like worldwide, within a couple of days. So
Hmm.
for us, it's an interesting shift because it's not only the production now in China, but also we see the market, yeah, grow every day. So that's why I thought it's very interesting to talk with you, and it's amazing shift.
How does it work then, right? Because the most annoying part for me always is international logistics, right? So get the goods into the market. But I guess now when you are delivering, you're delivering way closer to sales schedule.
Sorry, come again?
So normally, right, you produce the goods, they have to go on the boat for three
Yeah,
weeks, and then they
yeah,
arrive. But
yeah,
now with these guys shipping it out locally out of China for the global market, or shipping it out of China warehouse to retailers,
yeah.
there's way less room for mistakes.
Yeah, true. And we see the volume going up also because before they had to wait. Now it's 6 to 8 weeks, Shanghai, Amsterdam. So it's very, very long. It's all, everything has to be pre-financed. But now
Mhm.
deliver like the next day in Shanghai area, for example. And from there, within 2 or 3 days, or maybe 4 days, they can deliver worldwide. So also the export of China, the logistical impact, it's amazing what they've been achieved. And also even from China to the UK, sending parcels is also cheaper than sending it from the Netherlands to the UK.
Ah,
I don't know why, but it's so there are all benefits.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Creates a lot of opportunity for brands as well, right? They can now suddenly fulfill global. Your quantities goes up because you can manufacture more.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a win-win for everybody, and it also shows how strong China is in all of logistical matters because a lot of brands also trying now other countries like Pakistan or Vietnam, and the prices are lower, but the whole infrastructure is, you cannot compare it to China. Also, if you talk about the vertical integration, all the goods, all the shell fabrics, it's still imported from China. So
Yeah.
we really strongly believe in
Because you
in
operate factories in China, right?
yeah, yeah, three factories. Yeah, we see a
Not
lot
many
of chances.
foreign businesses that own factories in the apparel market directly in China, to be honest.
No, but I remember my as a kid, my dad was always in China, so he was very early in China and saw the opportunity there. But a lot of things has changed. You know, when he came there, it was by horse and carriage, and now the roads and the infrastructure is sometimes better than some European countries.
I picked up in a Mercedes Benz.
Now it's different, but interesting changes. So yeah, thank you so much for your time, Patrick. I will put a link below from your company also in the comments. So if people are
Appreciate it.
interested in trying to enter the Chinese market, put the link down below. And was great catching up. I can talk for hours about it, but we have to wrap it up.
Next time when you're in Shanghai, we'll talk further. Thank you so much.
Take care, man. All the best.
See you. Bye
Ciao.
bye.